Has there ever been a better team? Football purists will argue that Brazil's 1970 World Cup winning team featuring the likes of Pelé, Rivellino, Gerson, Tostão and Jairzinho are the best of all time. Jairzinho scored in every round of the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. Football purists will say Jairzinho was part of the greatest ever team. Jairzinho, the man leading the South American side's front line, had a remarkable tournament, netting in every round, including the final. But that wasn't enough to earn him the Golden Boot. Gerd Müller beat him to that award with 10 goals that year. Get Robert Lewandowski's striking looks by Bayern on the high street. England's 1970 World Cup stars were given a Ford Cortina. But there was a twist. Carlos Valderrama is Colombia icon famed for his hair, skill and 22 feet statue. All the World Cup mascots, from a Graham Taylor lookalike to Emu's mad cousin Chelsea wonderkid Billy Gilmore idolizes Cesc and gets top tips from Lampard. How the next Ryan Giggs reinvented himself with a business earning £5 million per year. Kevin De Bruyne fashion. Get the Man City star's designer looks on the cheap from Romario to clothes. We look back at the best No 11s in World Cup history. However, Jairzinho did have the pleasure of winning the World Cup and scoring in the final in a 4-1 demolition of Italy. In an interview with Goal, the man from Rio de Janeiro remembered back to that magical time in his life. Jairzinho bundles in Brazil's third goal against Italy. Brazil's lineup was enough to frighten any opposition. Even hosts Mexico were cheering Brazil to defeat the Italians in the final. He said, "When we won the first game against Czechoslovakia, we said, just 5 left. When we won against England, we said, only 4 left. And when we beat Uruguay we said, just 1 left, people. Just 1 to go." The enigmatic winger turned forward was full of praise for manager Mario Zagallo, a man who had been there and done that, winning 2 World Cups as a player before managing the 1970 team to glory. Mario Zagallo would often talk to the players individually. Jairzinho lifts Pelé during the 1970 World Cup final. Carlos Alberto rifled in the 4th goal, sometimes referred to as the greatest team goal of all time. He took me aside and said, "Yeah, I have total confidence in you, and because of this I'm not going to call up another player to play on the wing. We're going to count on you." Zagallo was very tactical. He thought of everything. He would draw out the pitch lines on a table and use bottle tops with numbers on them for the players. This was how he'd work out his game plan, and then he'd show us, giving each of us very specific instructions on the best way to play. Brazil had become favorites of the locals, not just because of their exuberant play, but because the hosts were eliminated by Italy in the quarter-finals. In Michael Donald's goal, the famed photojournalist tracked down all of the World Cup final goal scorers. He flew to Brazil to meet Jairzinho, a hero from the 1970 World Cup squad. He was interesting, because he scored a goal in every single World Cup match, Michael said. But he scored the worst World Cup final goal I had ever seen. It sort of bobbles off him and goes in. Not in a remotely arrogant way, but he had a swagger about him. What amazed me was the lack of acknowledgement he had in the favela. It was disappointing to see the lack of respect. Kids were throwing stones at him while we were shooting. When Mexico went out, the whole of Mexico supported Brazil. Italy put them out, so they especially wanted us to win. They all came out onto the streets. We struggled to get our bus into the stadium because of the fans lining the streets. Describing his goal, Jairzinho precisely dissects it play by play. In fact, he romanticizes about it so much you wouldn't believe it was one of the most scrappy World Cup goals of all time. I scored what I considered the title-winning goal, and it was 3-1 and they basically gave up. In Game 3, Jairzinho had disposed of England, scoring in a 1-0 win over the then World Cup holders. There was a move that I used to do a lot at Botafogo with Gerson. For me, after Didi, Gerson was the best passer of the ball I had ever seen. I took off on my run. Gerson was out on the left. He crossed into the penalty area. I called to Pelé and he headed it on. When I touched it, I think I'd never kissed anything with as much emotion as at the ceremony where I kissed the cup. Jairzinho, goal. My first touch was to control the ball, and when I was about to finish it, Facchetti pushed me, knocking me off balance so that, as the ball went over the line, I followed it into the net. Then we finished with an amazing tactical goal that we had practiced in training. Carlos Alberto scored it. Brazil had the support of the home Mexican crowd after the Italians knocked them out in a previous round. Brazil starter Tau is stripped by fans at the final whistle. Pelé is just in his shorts as he is carried off the pitch when the referee blew the whistle. An avalanche of Mexican fans invaded the pitch, running all over us, cheering and grabbing at our clothes. When I left the pitch I was wearing only my pants. I saw the photos afterwards, I still have them at home in my magazines. The Mexicans lifted me up. Not just me, all of the players, but mainly me. And nothing felt better than getting his hands on the World Cup, Jairzinho concluded. When I touched it, I think I'd never kissed anything with as much emotion as at the ceremony where I kissed the cup. Copyright Michael Donald 2017 Goal. By Michael Donald is published by Hamlin, £20. octopusbooks.co.uk, Sun Sport profiles Brazil ahead of this summer's World Cup in Russia.